LogRhythm's Netmon Freemium delivers real-time network visibility to quickly identify emerging threats in your IT environment. Netmon Freemium is a free commercial-grade network forensics and traffic analytics solution. You can use Netmon Freemium's powerful capabilities to search against all observed network traffic, identify abnormal traffic patterns in application usage, and quickly analyze full packet captures. Take the first step towards real-time network visibility. Visit logRhythm.com/freemium to learn more and download it today. Make sure your team is prepared to fight off the latest cybersecurity threat. IT Pro TV is the resource to keep you and your IT team skills up to date. You can stream IT Pro TV's courses live and on demand worldwide, so there's no need to send staff to off-site training. Their team solution provides access to a supervisor portal for full control over your team's training schedule and group analytics. Go to itpro.tv/Security Weekly and use the code SW30 to try it free for 7 days and receive 30% off your monthly membership for the lifetime of your active subscription. To learn more about IT Pro TV's team solution, sign up for a free demo of their supervisor portal. NetSparker, the developers of desktop and cloud-based web application security scanners that enable you to automatically identify vulnerabilities in your web applications and web services. NetSparker scanners employ a unique and dead-accurate vulnerability scanning engine that automatically verifies vulnerabilities with their proof of concept. For more information, visit them on the web at netsparker.com or email at contact@netsparker.com. Welcome back, everyone, to Paul's Security Weekly. This is our technical segment. Quick announcement, itpro.tv/Security Weekly. Try it free for 7 days. Get 30% off with the code SW30. Sign up for the supervisor portal. And what Lisa was saying, and we talked about it at length with Lisa, is all of the new technology that we need to learn as security professionals.
Oh, God.
You can do that on a consistent basis at itpro.tv. So make sure you check out the supervisor portal where your employer can buy a subscription for everyone at your organization, which is awesome.
Indeed.
I'd like to introduce, see if I get this right, Eyal Neemany. Did I get that right?
Yeah, almost.
Close enough, right?
Close enough.
Eyal is the former head of Israeli Air Force CERT and forensics team and senior security researcher at Javelin Networks. And this is one of their sponsored technical segments for this evening. And Eyal, did I say that right? Eyal?
Yeah.
Eyal
yes,
is here to talk about bypassing two-factor authentication. Eyal, it's nice to meet you, and welcome to the show.
Nice to meet you. It's great to be here. Thank you.
So, Eyal, take us through. I mean, we've talked about bypassing two-factor authentication in a number of different ways. I thought the way that you're going to talk about it tonight is very interesting, and I'm excited to have you go through it. So, take it away.
Sure. So today I will present you a slide that will describe exactly how to bypass two-factor authentication and smart cards in Active Directory organization. So let's get started.
Let's jump right into it.
Let's go. So I'll share my screen. Let's see.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. So just a quick review about smart cards and two-factor authentication. Let me see. And here we go. So when organization hit by an APT attack, many companies implement smart cards and or other two-factor authentication mechanisms as a reactionary measure. But thinking that this solution will prevent credential theft is a big mistake. Attackers can bypass this protection using a variety of common and known Active Directory credential theft techniques. So what I will present to you guys today is how to steal credentials of a smart card protected user using pass-dash technique, which is the one that we know for a long time, and also how to bypass almost any two-factor or a multi-factor authentication techniques using pass the ticket or something called process token stealing. And eventually, by using these techniques, I will compromise the domain.
And so this is specific to Active Directory, as I use Google Authenticator and a YubiKey to protect primarily my social media and those type accounts. But what you're talking about is very specific to Active Directory, correct?
Exactly.
Okay.
So all the other techniques are not relevant. This is only for Active Directory two-factor and smart cards. Yeah. So just like you see in the picture, there are many types of smart cards and two-factor devices, but they're all vulnerable to the same kind of attacks and credential theft techniques. And it can be a two-factor solution using a Google authenticator, like you just said, or a YubiKey, or just the old employee smart card, I mean the old school type one, like the one on the left. So also a quick review of how authentication works in Active Directory. This is a very simplified, as much as I could, diagram of authentication. So the first step, the user enters to his computer using his own username and password. Then the client's workstation, which is the user's workstation, it generates a hash, the NTLM hash, based on the password and a timestamp of the machine. And after that, the domain controller validates the hash from the data it grabs from the NTDS database, which is the database that contains all the information and password and hashes about the user. So the DC calculates the hash again from the information from his database and compares it to the NTLM hash that he received from the user. And if the hash is valid, if they're the same, the DC will send back a TGT ticket. From now on, this ticket is enough in order to be authenticated as this user. So step 1 to 4 that I just described won't happen again anymore. The user eventually receives the TGT and will be able to log into his workstation or access resources on the services of his domain. And this whole procedure is called single sign-on. And the user TGT is stored in the else's process inside the memory of his endpoint. And it's stored there because if he needs another access to any other resources inside his domain or inside his computers, you already got the TGT, and he doesn't have to do the whole authentication procedure again.
So essentially, this is a user convenience feature, as I'm notorious for either losing my YubiKey or not having it with me at a particular point in time. In other words, it's on my keychain, which I've left in on my dresser in the bedroom where like my wife is sleeping and I want to get some work done late, and I'm like tiptoeing.
This is very much the scenario we've got going on right now.
Trying not to jingle my keys as I pick them up, and waking everyone up.
We've got somebody wandering around our neighborhoods, like breaking into cars and stuff. And we leave the keys in the ignition in our driveway all the time. So now we've been taking them out and locking the car. And like, this is a new thing. I mean, 15 years we lived in this house, and the keys have always been in the ignition sitting in the driveway. And I go out to the truck to go to podcast tonight. I walk up the driveway to the end of the driveway, go to get my truck, and I'm like, oh, shit, it's locked.
Oh, my keys.
All the way down the house.
So then you like try and put your two-factor authentication. Well, so it shouldn't be on my key ring because I don't want to drag my keys around with me. So I'll just keep it clipped to my belt, and then I plug it into my computer at work, and then I forget it there, and then I get home, and then Sam sends me a text message, hey, can you like log into this and then send me that? I'm like,
sure.
Nope.
Oh, wait.
Can't do that because, And so anyway, this is a convenience feature because of the user problems we described, Eyal.
Exactly, yeah. Okay, so now let's talk about smart cards. So the difference between here, what I just told you is this was like a normal login procedure using a password. So right now I'll be talking about smart cards. So smart card basically is a piece of spatialized cryptographic hardware that contains its own CPU, memory, and operating system. But when authenticating a user in Active Directory environment with a smart card and a PIN code, or it can even be with a smart card with a fingerprint or with any type of authentication, extra authentication method. It just depends on your solution that you're picking up. The client certificate, which is the smart card certificate, is verified against the domain controller. And the domain controller verifies your certificate against the certificate authority. This is the thing that holds all your certificates. So once it's verified, the domain controller returns a TGT ticket back, just like before, and also an NTLM hash back to the client or a user. So both of the hash and the TGT eventually are stored inside your memory again, and they are exposed there, and they can be exported using tools like Mimikatz or WCE or any other memory dumping tool that you know. So the tricky part is that before your hash was calculated based on your password. But right now, because you have only a smart card, the hash is calculated only once when your administrator is changing your user account to work only with your smart card. So that's going to be the only time that your smart card user hash will be changed. What it actually means is your hash is not calculated based on your password, not your certificate. It's just a random string that someone in Microsoft made. That this is like a publicly known problem that people just decide to ignore. Because from now on, your smart card certificate is useless. So if I was an attacker, I will be able to present only your hash or your TGT to the TC and identify as the same user. So again, your hash and TGT are exposed in your memory. Attackers can access them easily. And just summing it up, after the initial verification of your smart card certificate, you get the NTLM hash and a TGT ticket that you can present from now on without your smart card. So you don't have to own your smart card anymore after your first authentication. So that's like the main problem.
Eyal, how long does that live in the memory of the computer? Is there a timeout that you can control as a domain administrator to say how long that TGT is valid for?
So yes, you can control how much time the TGT will be valid for, but your NTLM hash is going to be the same forever. And that's the problem. That's the main problem here. The TGT on default is going to be valid for a week, but you can limit it to a day. This is like the minimum time span of TGT ticket. But the NTLM hash is going to live there forever. And the problem that I just described before, and I'll just go through it here. The hash of the smart card logon is only calculated once, and it occurs when your admin sets the following attribute, as you can see on the left. Smart card is required for interactive logon. So not like when logging in with your password, when you are using passwords, you can force users to change their own password every period of time. On default, I think it's 30 days or 90 days. I don't remember exactly, but therefore, they can replace and refresh their old NTLM hash. So the main problem here is that the smart card NTLM hash lifetime is forever. It just never expires. And if I was an attacker, I would look for privileged smart cards protected accounts to steal their hashes. And by that, I will gain lifetime persistency on your domain. I will be able to pass the hash of that user forever until he either disables this user or disable the smart card or deletes his account. That's the only thing that can save him from.
Or if they change their password.
So the thing here, there is no password.
Oh, right, because it comes from the authentication from the smart card from the TGT.
Exactly. So
Gotcha.
that's the biggest problem here. So just a quick sum up of this. The only advantage you get with smart cards right now is that you don't have any clear text password theft scenarios. They won't be possible anymore. Scenarios like keylogging or phishing, social engineering to gain your password. So these scenarios will be possible, almost impossible. But actually, the smart card creates a bigger problem. Another thing that is good for smart cards is that the hash of the user won't be crackable because it's generated based on a random algorithm. But however, again, it doesn't matter because attackers can only pass the hash in order to reach their goal. They don't need to crack the password. They don't need to crack the hash, sorry. And the next step will be actually demonstrating this whole procedure. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to log into a station using a smart card. So, one moment.
He actually has a smart card.
Nice.
I'm having a trouble to plug out my older USB key. Okay, managed to do that. Okay. And here we go. So I'll choose smart card authentication. Enter my PIN code. So this is a scenario of a victim. Someone logs in into his server using a smart card. And right now I will also open an attacker session, an unprivileged attacker session, using nothing but a password. So
And that password, Eyal, is that the user's domain password, or is that the password to unlock the key on the smart card?
what I just typed before?
Yes.
Just the key to unlock the smart card.
Okay.
A PIN code. That will take a while. So we have a few moments here. Hold on. Okay, so what I'll do now, I'll show you this slide again.
Is it? It's not
Yeah,
applying.
it's waiting.
It's
Yeah,
not applying
it's waiting.
Windows updates or anything, right?
No. Yeah, that would be a nightmare. So what I'll do is just pass the hash using Mimikatz. So the steps are just RDP'd using a smart card with a privileged user called ELN, and also RDP like I just did before with the unprivileged attacker user called JWeak. And I'll try to access the DC just to demonstrate that I don't have any privileges before that. And then I'll run Mimikatz, capture the hash of the smart card from the memory, and pass the hash and access the DC again, hopefully with success, because then this whole thing will be useless. So let's see. Okay, hit here. So I'll open Mimikatz. So first of all, I'll type who am I. As you can see, I'm running as JWeak. I'll check the privileges of JWeak. And as you can see, I'm a normal domain user. I'll type the dir command in order to try to access the domain controller, and I get cannot find path. That means that I just don't have privileges enough to view that. So what I'll do now is try to pass the hash, and let's try it.
And what are you using to pass the hash? Yeah.
Only Mimikatz.
Okay.
Nothing but Mimikatz. So right now, I'm dumping all the credentials from the memory. Let's locate the hash. Okay. As you can see now, you can see my PIN code from my smart card shown in clear text. And also here the NTLM
hold on. Go back.
Okay.
Your PIN code is shown in clear text in memory?
Exactly.
That's hot.
Yeah. So also your PIN code is gotta be loaded somehow into your memory. I mean, everything is exposed. Once attacker gets inside your endpoint, if you're logged in already, your endpoint is compromised. Everything that you're doing will be exposed. So what I'll do now is copy the hash of the smart card user, and I ran the pass the hash command. And I got a CMD shell popped up. And I'll try to access the DC again. And I got full access. I can see the whole directories of the DC.
Nice.
So this is the first scenario. pretty cool. So basically, the hash that you gotta have you don't have to own the actual smart card in order to be authenticated. The hash is enough. So that's like the biggest problem here. So let's move on to the next scenario. Oh, okay, by the way, so there is some kind of fix to mitigate this, but only the period that your hash will be expired. So in Windows Server 2016, Microsoft released a fix for the never expire problem, but you gotta have domain controllers with Windows Server 2016 functional level in order to have this feature. This is the only recently released feature. So your hash won't be a lifetime hash, and you won't have like lifetime persistency on your domain. So this feature will change the password of your smart cards. The hashes of your smart card every 60 days.
Well, I feel like that some of these issues, Eyal, are fixed if you're on the latest version of Windows Server on every single one of your servers, and the latest version of Windows 10 on every single one of your endpoints, which is like probably 0% of every enterprise today.
Exactly. I don't know any enterprise that has all these requirements.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. I agree. That's crazy. Another solution that they offer you is to do it manually. Just untick and tick the whole the smart card is required attribute in all of your smart card users. You can do it with a script, but again, it's not a good solution.
Yeah, Paul likes to do it manually.
Sometimes. So, two-factor authentications. Now, the situation here is better. So I have tested the two-factor authentication using AuthLite. If you know this product, it's based on the YubiKey. This is like a software that I install on the DC, and it manages my password. So just like I said, two-factor authentication often comes along with the software installed on your domain controller and offers the ability to control and manage your organization passwords. So they will change your passwords of your accounts, and instead of logging in with your own password, what you'll do is log in with the one-time temporary password token for each login. So instead of your users entering the actual passwords of their accounts, they will only enter a one-time temporary password that your two-factor solution will verify and grant you the access to your actual account. During authentication with some third-party multi-factor authentication, that's okay. The hash is calculated from the user's managed password, and because it's calculated from the user managed password, and because the password is managed, then it's changed frequently. So scenarios like we just saw before, kind of impossible because the password is changed immediately, and the hash is based on the password and not just a random string like before. So if an attacker steals the NTLM hash of a two-factor authentication managed user, his hash probably won't be valid anymore, and presenting it to the DC won't get him authenticated. So sometimes two-factor authentication will be able to mitigate past the hash attack scenarios. However, two-factor authentication is still vulnerable to attacks like pass the ticket and process token manipulation, which I'll demonstrate just in a few moments. So as an attacker, I will export all of the cached Kerberos tickets of a two-factor authentication user, inject the TGT ticket of the stolen two-factor authentication user to my attacker session, and by doing that, by injecting the TGT, I will be able to bypass the defense of any smart card and two-factor authentication solution. So the reason behind
repeat that again. I'm sorry.
Okay, so if you're stealing the TGT ticket from a two-factor authentication user, and injecting it to your attacker session, to your own session, you'll be able to bypass any defense of any smart card and any two-factor authentication solution.
That's significant.
Yep, that is. So the reason that this thing happens is because the TGT is actually presenting a post-authenticated user session.
Right.
So what this TGT is saying is that we're already authenticated as a two-factor authentication token. So there's no way to identify that a TGT was reused by a malicious actor as long as the TGT hasn't expired. So like I just mentioned before, TGTs does have lifespan, so it can vary, between 12 hours, 24 hours, and 7 days, and even if you want, it can be 30 days. Depends on what you decide in your organization. But you're still going to have a significant period of time that this ticket will be valid. So this is a fact that can't be changed, unfortunately. This is another scenario, a very cool one, to bypass two-factor authentication. It's called token manipulation. So just think about it like that. If I am an attacker and I'm already running on your station, I have like a running process with a local administrator privileges. I can steal the token of any other running process, and by doing that, I will be able to impersonate to any user that exists on the machine without even stealing his credentials. So I don't need to steal his hash or his TGT, just the actual process token. Because the tokens are already authenticated, two-factor authentication and smart cards won't be able to protect them. So using Mimikatz, or a nice cool tool called Invoke Token Manipulation, using by PowerShell, you can impersonate the two-factor authentication admin privileged user and steal his privileges without the need of actually stealing the credentials. So you're running under a thread of a different process. That's the whole point here.
Eyal, is that just interactive users, or is that service accounts as well?
If you have a service account running inside the compromised endpoint, then yes, it is. But it varies if there is an actual running process inside your endpoint. So I have a quick video of me doing that. So let's go.
Let's do it.
And one moment. Okay. So as you see, I popped up a run as different user prompt. So on the username box, wait, I'll just pause this for a moment. So using the YubiKey, as you might know, there is a one-time password button. So once you click it, you get this strange string. It's called OTP, one-time password, and you just type it into. Once you click it, it will type it automatically into your username field, and it will actually be your actual password. They're like changing the way that the whole thing runs, and this is like one method of two-factor authentication that works very in a very cool way in Active Directory. So on the username box, I'm using the YubiKey string, and on the password field, I'm using the real password, and it will pop up a shell. This will be like this is like the victim shell. As you can see, I'm running as Eyal. And I will check my privileges just to make sure that I am protected with two-factor authentication. And as you can see, I'm a domain admin, and I'm also protected by Authlight. So right now, I'm on the left side of the screen. I'm sorry if the font is too small, but there's nothing I can do. I will dump all the tickets from the memory, like I just mentioned, the TGT ticket. And I'll try to find the ticket of Eyal, which is the privileged two-factor authentication user. And I found it. And what I'll do now is inject the ticket of Eyal, which is already authenticated as two-factor. I'll pop a new CMD shell using this ticket. As you can see, I'm still the attacker, but now I possess the ticket of Eyal, the TGT ticket of Eyal. So my next move will be trying to access the DC. As you can see, I do have the privileges to do that. So just bypassing any two-factor authentication, only with extracting the TGT ticket. That means if your endpoint is compromised and you're logged in as any user after a two-factor authentication process, you are compromised. So the next thing will be the token manipulation thing. So as you can see, I just cleared the shell. I purge the tickets, so I have like a brand new shell. So what I will do now is query for all the tokens, and I'll try to elevate the token of the user Eyal Neemany. And as you can see, I have an active thread of Eyal. So what it will do, it will impersonate to that user. And as you can see now, I possess the ALN token under my thread. So my next move will be to dump the KRB-TGT user hash using dcsync command. And this action requires privileges that only a domain admins or equivalent has. This command is extracting the golden ticket hash. So as you can see, I gather all the data from the DC. I have the hash of the KRB-TGT. This is only an action that I can do with a domain admin user. So no matter if you think that your two-factor authentication will be able to protect you, once you're authenticated into your endpoint and there is someone on your endpoint, it's a game over scenario for you. Your credentials will be stolen and just there's nothing you can do. So summing this talk up.
And in conclusion.
So this is like the big picture. Eventually, what you get is with a smart card, you are perfectly protected against clear text password theft because there is no actual password. The same thing with two-factor, multi-factor authentication. So pass the hash is also being protected by most of the multi-factor authentication vendors, depends on which you have. But smart cards, they're just handling pass the hash attacks horribly. And they also possess the domain persistency risk because the hash of a smart card never expires. And the same thing goes for pass the ticket and token manipulation for both multi-factor and smart card solutions. And of course, I'm from Javelin, so I gotta have the bottom thing.
The bottom row is very Javelin, but yeah. I love the graphic though, Eyal. I think that's well, and I think that really communicates the risk and the threats appropriately in your presentation. So
yeah, I also think that's great. Yeah,
it's awesome.
So, any other questions,
Larry? You probably used.
That's awesome.
Similar attacks.
Yeah, similar attacks, and not really realizing that if you can do the TGT after authentication for the quote single sign-on, that's quite amazing. That was it for me. I was like, I'm done.
Well, I think it underscores the vast amount of techniques and tools that are available to attackers, and I think some of the many of the defenders. Our message this year and moving into next year is that we don't fully understand how big of a problem Active Directory and I wouldn't even say security, the lack thereof security that is built within or not built into it poses a problem for enterprises today. So, Eyal, thank you very much for the technical segment. That was awesome stuff.
Absolutely.
Thank you for having me, guys. It's been a pleasure.
And with that, we'll take a short commercial break. Come back with the security news for this week. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere.